The United Nations says escalating violence is threatening the security of those living in West Africa. The world body says it's all because of the Boko Haram insurgency. This latest warning is coming from the UN Special Envoy for West Africa. CCTV's Liling joins us from UN headquarters in New York. What's the status of this group and what's being done to address this threat?
The UN Special Envoy for West Africa is calling for more support and involvement from the international community. Syed Djinnit told the UN Security Council this session that the situation in northern Nigeria is growing more dire and Boko Haram is becoming a great concern. Within the past 2 weeks, there have been reports of 18 attacks on civilians attributed to Boko Haram, and Djinnit says the threat from the terrorist group is becoming a security concern for the sub-region. A recent joint UN-Nigeria humanitarian assessment found that Boko Haram violence has resulted in the internal displacement of at least 650,000 people, and some 60,000 refugees have fled to neighboring countries, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger. And as increasing political tensions plague the country ahead of its 2015 general elections, the Special Envoy said the country is at a crossroads and that the international community, the Security Council, should support efforts to stabilize the situation. As we know, Boko Haram initially targeted government and security sites, but it has increasingly targeted civilians. And Djinnit noted that the schoolgirls kidnapped in April from the remote village of Chibok remain in captivity despite efforts by the government and pressure from the international community for their release.
Liling, there's another serious problem, of course, we've been talking about in the last few weeks, faced by some West African countries, and that's, of course, the growing threat from the Ebola virus. In fact, a lot of health officials last week really sounding the alarm on this one. Where do things stand right now?
Well, since the February outbreak in Southeast Guinea, Ebola has spread to Liberia and Sierra Leone, and the recent World Health Organization figures put the number of cases total at 844, with 518 deaths. And in the past week alone, there have been 50 new cases in Liberia and Sierra Leone. The UN Special Envoy says the international community needs to pay closer attention, noting that while strides have been made to contain the spread of the virus, there have been recent worrying recurrences. And this outbreak has been, of course, described as the world's deadliest Ebola outbreak. And health ministers met this weekend with World Health Organization officials to explore strategies to address the growing threat. They've pledged to strengthen surveillance to better detect cases, as well as strengthen cross-border collaboration, but also to more fully engage local communities. The WHO has noted that traditional practices, cultural practices, and beliefs have come into conflict with public health measures to address the virus, and that has significantly contributed to its spread.
Liling live for us at the United Nations there in New York. Thank you so much.